Kuala Lumpur, meaning muddy estuary, began its life as a tiny trading post on Malaysia's west coast, about 20 miles upriver of what was then the state capital of Klang. In 1980, the rocketing price of tin encouraged the British to transfer the capital of Selangor from Klang to the boom town of Kuala Lumpur. In 1882, Frank Swettenham was posted to Kuala Lumpur as the resident of Selangor. He planned a new and expensive residency for himself and took a close personal interest in the scheme. However, the idea was never been realized. 14 years later, Swettenham returned to Kuala Lumpur as the first Resident General to the newly created Federated Malay State. It was when Swettenham new residence was built, designed by Arthur Charles Norman, the government architect. After 15 months, the building was completed with a total of $67,300 spent, including the building of roads and the outbuildings. With the athletic fusion of neo-Gothic and Tudor Revival styles, the residence has more than 8 bedrooms and 11 bathrooms. The entrance hall was admired by all. Large and airy, it opened all the way up to the marble roof, lending the hall a cathedral-like feel.
Initially, it was called as a lake garden, and then now they convert to Lake Perdana. And actually, in earlier days, there's a hill. This hill actually has a commanding view to the old city, old KL. So that's one of the reasons why they pick up this place.
The name Carcosa was chosen by Swettenham himself. He explains that when the house was finished, he had read a book of short stories called The King in Yellow by Robert Chambers, an American writer. A smaller dwelling was also later built, less than 500 yards away, around November 1913. It was named King's House. Carcosa and King's House continued to serve as residences to a succession of British High Commissioners until it was returned back to the Malayan government on August 31, 1957. It was then the King's House was renamed as Istana Tetamu, which bears the meaning Guest Palace.
This is the city center, and then where the Carcosa was built, actually very much on the residential area for the elite group for the.
In 1989, the Malaysian government announced that Carcosa and Istana Tetamu, the former King's House, would together become a state guest house for foreign dignitaries. Both buildings are then refurbished under the Antiquities Act to be turned into a first-class hotel. Istana Tetamu was renamed again as Seri Negara, which means beautiful country. Together, both the buildings are turned into a hotel and were later named as Carcosa Seri Negara.
Of course, the best way to conserve a building is to retain its original function, right? That's the best way. We don't want to change the function. But there are cases when these are buildings that couldn't sustain the original function. Maybe because of the lifestyle, maybe because of the economic condition, so they cannot sustain the original function. So they have to change. That change actually is a good move in a way that building is still used. If not, the building is going to be vacated. Once the building become vacant, of course you have a lot of other, related problems will start to creep in.
Carcosa Seri Negara opened its newly painted doors to its first official foreign guest, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, in October of 1989. The occasion was a state visit followed by the Commonwealth Head of Government meeting. In September 1997, 8 years after the opening of Carcosa Seri Negara, it was decided to close Carcosa Mansion for a complete renovation.
Although it's expensive, but there are certain group of people who keep on coming. They're happy with the interior, with the architecture, with the environment, with the food. So it's fine. It's just, I don't know, unfortunately, maybe the management expect to have a lot more rooms probably. They want to extend the project to, to add up few more buildings around this site probably. That will help to bring a lot more revenue probably.
Carcosa and its surrounding site were gazetted as a National Heritage Site in 2005. Under the Act 645, Chapter 3, Number 59, it says that the owner or custodian shall keep the heritage property in good condition, where if any party who wishes to do any extensions or renovations, they shall refer it to the Commissioner.
Yeah, because it's one of national importance, I think. Yeah, and one of the earliest building. Of course, there are few criteria where you should conserve. It's basically two things. One is because of the architectural interest. Number two is on the historic interest. Alright. Sometimes the building may not be architecturally interesting, but because of the history, the history behind it. So you have to conserve it. For example, a very simple house for PM probably. Okay, architecturally it may not be interesting, but the history behind it. So that house should be placed under National Heritage. In here, we have both. Historically, it's very interesting, it's very important, and architecturally it's also important because a very unique architecture. And then they term it as a Tudor or sort of image.
In line with the Commonwealth Game and the Commonwealth Head of Government meeting, Carcosa was converted into a prestigious 5-star hotel. During the visit, Queen Elizabeth II and her husband Prince Philip accommodated this hotel. This place still maintains its own character, its old setting. By virtue of having this old building here, the immediate setting is also maintained, a forest reserve surrounding the site relating to the lake area. The building is designed to address its immediate setting so well that if its immediate setting is lost, you may find the building deserted and loses its context. Therefore, the whole zone is buffered and well maintained, undisturbed.
The building is designed to address the immediate setting. So once you remove the immediate setting, sometimes you may find the building loses its context. I think you wouldn't see many community around except one or two large bungalow mansion, which is of course these are all special people who manage to own the site and then stay within this. But overall, the whole site is nicely maintained. I think because of having this Carcosa there, people are quite sensitive on new development, and it has been gazetted as a national heritage. So probably that will give a strong influence on the immediate neighborhood to really care about the green, the environment that they have now, which is good. It remains as it was. There's not much intervention to the building, which is good. Alright. The only intervention is this additional of some of the room to change it to hotel. But it's fine. The way I look at it, it was quite nicely done. It was done by architect Hajida, who did quite well. The conclusion is that on the conclusion side, we mentioned that whatever building they want to add here must be low rise, must be independent. Whatever building that they do, they shouldn't connect to this original building because it might disturb the character, one thing, and then the structure might be disturbed. This is an old building, so and the building, whatever they want to do, must be nicely tucked into the landscape. Carcosa in one word: astonishing architecture.
It's very nice. It's very colonial.
Very colonial, yeah.
Very old-fashioned style.
I went there with the jaga. The jaga brought me with he lead me with his motorcycle, and then he parked there, and then I bring my car in, and then I walk into the hall. So I start to take few photograph, and I can listen to the footstep on the first floor. Yeah, really.
But nobody is upstairs,
Of course, there's nobody.
Maybe the motorbike guy went out.
No, he's outside. He's outside. Okay, the other door are all closed except for the main entrance.